Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear students, Assalamu alaikum. I am Ahmed Mumtaz Mustahsan, your teacher for CSC 141 Introduction to Computer Programming. Remember, in the last lecture, we talked about operators. We talked about assignment operator, arithmetic operators. I showed you some more operators called bitwise operators, but I did not discuss and promised you to discuss it in some other lecture. I keep my promise, and I will discuss these operators later on once we have some good understanding of the fundamental concepts. So today I will continue with some more operators, but these operators are called logical operators. Logical operators are logical NOT, that is used to invert the data. NOT, it converts true to false and false to true. Logical AND, logical OR. So when you compare and when you calculate logical AND, then you compare two values together and your answer is true, non-zero is treated as true, or false. True is non-zero, usually 1, since 1 is non-zero, so we call 1 as a true and 0 as a false. You will understand these logical operators much better when we carry out some exercises, and I explain you while I will solve the exercises. So once again, I've just introduced you these operators. So at this stage you are supposed just to remember that there are some logical operators which have the associativity from right to left, not X. So it has X is not, means associativity from right to left. X and Y, so Y is associated with X through an AND operator. X or Y, so Y is associated with X through an OR operator. The answer should be equal to true or false. If X is true and Y is true, then X and Y will be equal to true. But if any of the two quantities, X or Y, is not true, so we can say true and false, the answer is false. False and true, the answer is false. So true and true, the answer is true. False and false, obviously the answer is false. For OR operator, if X is true or Y is true, means if any of the two value is true, the answer is true. So if X is true, Y is false, the answer is true. X is false, Y is true, answer is true. X is true, Y is true, the answer is true. And if both are false, then and only then the answer is false. So let's move to some more operators that we would like to use very shortly. These operators are called relational operators. These operators are used to compare two quantities. So the operators are greater than, equal to. You like to take the decision on both the cases. If X is greater than Y, or if X is greater than equal to Y. So we have got two operators. One is called greater than, other one is called greater than, equal to. Similarly, we have got less than and less than equal to. Equal, x is equal to y, or x is not equal to y. Once again, it returns true or false, 1 or 0. Remember, 1 is non-zero value, so it is treated as true, where 0 obviously is 0, it is treated as false. Okay, this was the slide or the example that I tried to explain you in the last lecture, but I promised that I will re-explain it once I discuss some more operators. So you can see that here we have got an equality operators, which is a relational operator. This double equal is a relational operator, whereas a single equal operator is called, yes, it is called assignment operator. So when we put two assignment operator together, it becomes an equality operator, it becomes the relational operator. So I said that if you want to compare x and y, if x is equal to y, since x is equal to 4, y is equal to 7, so obviously x is not equal to y, therefore it will not go into the part and it will not print anything onto the screen. The second, if x equal to y, what will happen? X is not equal to y, so it should not print. So I can find an error here. It should be this: if x equal to y, since x is not equal to y, so it will not go into this part. But here I should write x equal y. Here we are going to compare. Since s is not equal y, so it will not go inside and it will not print anything. But instead of using equal, I have used x equal y. What does it mean? Do you remember? Assignment operator assigns a value of y equal to x. If we say x is equal to y, so value of y is equal to 7, which you assign to x, which is non-zero value. Now you remember, if we compare two values, the non-zero value is considered as true, although x is not equal to y. But since by mistake we have used x equal to y, so we have assigned a non-zero value 7 equal to x, so it will be true. So x equal to y means a non-zero value is assigned to x, hence it is treated as true, and the control will go inside the structure and it will print the value of x and y. Now x will be printed as 7 and y will be printed as 7. क्योंकि हमने x is equal to 7 कर दिया था, तो उसने दो काम किए. 7 को x को असाइन कर दिया, तो x की जो प्रीवियस वैल्यू थी वो ओवरराइट हो गई. x भी 6 हो गया, सॉरी x भी 7 हो गया और y भी 7 हो गया. और जब उसको उसने टेस्ट किया, तो क्योंकि नॉन जीरो वैल्यू थी तो वो टेस्ट भी ट्रू हो गया, लिहाजा x और y की वैल्यू प्रिंट हो गई. गुड. आई होप दैट यू should have understood it now much better as compared to the one I explained you in the last lecture. Dear students, we talked about variables, identifiers, data types, almost the same thing. We said that variable names are identifiers and variable names are also used as to represent the data types. Before using any data type, before using any variable in your program, you are required to tell the compiler. There are three types of operations that you can perform. You can declare a variable, you can define a variable, you can initialize a variable. There is a difference between declaring a variable, defining a variable, and initializing a variable. I would like to explain the difference of all the three. A variable declaration only specifies the name and type of the variable without allocating the space. इसका मतलब हुआ कि जब आप कहते हैं int x, सिस्टम को पता चल जाता है x is an integer, you have assigned an integer location, the name of the memory location is x, where you are going to put an integer data, but that memory location is not allocated at that particular time. So at the time of the declarations of the variable, the memory is not allocated or not associated with the name of the variable. Declarations are important in multi-file programs where a variable definition in one file must be referred to in a second file. आप सोच रहे होंगे कि इसका यूज क्या है जब उसको मेमोरी एलोकेट नहीं होती. तो यूज ये है कि if you are using a big programs, so you defined the variables in one file. When you combine all these objects together, you need not to redefine it in every place. So you declare, then you define. What does it mean? Variable definition, on the other hand, specifies the name and type of the variable, and it also sets aside the memory location. यानी कि जब आपने एक वेरिएबल को डिफाइन कर दिया तो कंपाइलर को ना सिर्फ आपके वेरिएबल के टाइप का पता चल गया, उसके नाम का पता चल गया और मेमोरी भी एलोकेट हो गई उसके साथ. When we will discuss the functions, we will again discuss this concept in detail. Initialization of a variable, इसमें भी आपको समझ में आ जाएगा, because when we initialize a variable, it performs both the tasks. It declares the variable and it defines the variable. What does it mean? When we say int num is equal to 2, means we have declared an integer variable and we have named it equal to num and we have assigned it an initial value equal to 2. So declaration भी हो गई, definition भी हो गई और initial value भी assign हो गई. It is in fact the first time when you put the data into the variable, the definition is done by the system. Next, before I start discussing two functions that I have repeatedly used in previous slide, especially one function which is called printf function. आप सोच रहे होंगे ये मैंने क्या printf यूज कर रहा हूँ जो मैंने आज तक आपको पढ़ाया भी नहीं, एक्सप्लेन भी नहीं किया. Before going to the details of the printf function and scanf function, I would like to discuss C and C++. Dear student, C is a structured language. C++ supposedly is an object-oriented language. But since C++ has got all the features, most of the features, as you have it in C language, therefore, all the structured programming features are available in C++. So हम कह सकते हैं कि C++ supports most of the features of structured language. Hence you may say that C is the subset of C++. There are very few exceptions that you need not to worry at this stage. So sometimes I say that a C program, sometimes I say that a C++ program, आप बिल्कुल confused ना हो उससे. हम basically C programming में काम कर रहे हैं क्योंकि हम structured programming सीख रहे हैं अभी. लेकिन हम जो environment use कर रहे हैं वो हम C++ का environment use कर रहे हैं. और रीज़न मैंने आपको बताया. रीज़न क्या है कि C++ में वो तमाम फीचर्स हैं जो कि स्ट्रक्चर्ड प्रोग्रामिंग में रिक्वायर्ड होते हैं. अब एक छोटा सा डिफरेंस है जो मैं चाहूँगा कि आई वुड लाइक टू जस्ट एक्सप्लेन इट राइट नाउ कि C++ में इनपुट एंड आउटपुट के लिए हम यूज़ करते हैं C in एंड C out, which is called IO stream, input output stream. It's a very powerful feature. हमने इसका बहुत ही simplest version इस्तेमाल किया था Hello World के प्रोग्राम में. C language में we carry out input and output task using the function called printf and scanf. So I've decided that I should teach you this printf and scanf function because it has got some features, some concepts that you should know. Okay, so I would like to explain you the user input and output functions of C, which is used in C++ also as a compatibility. Okay, वैसे अगर आप C++ की प्रोग्रामिंग कर रहे होंगे, ऑब्जेक्ट ओरिएंटेड की प्रोग्रामिंग कर रहे होंगे, तो उस वक्त आप IO स्ट्रीम्स यूज़ करेंगे, C in और C out यूज़ करेंगे. लेकिन जब हम स्ट्रक्चर्ड प्रोग्रामिंग कर रहे हैं तो हम printf और scanf जो है उसको यूज़ करना चाहेंगे. So printf is a printing function, is used to display the output on the screen. Scanf scans the input, scans the data keyed in through keyboard. So printf function output के लिए और scanf function to read the data from the keyboard. Both these functions are defined in stdio.h. इधर मैं क्योंकि already explain कर चुका हूँ difference between declaration and definition, so the better definition could be कि printf and scanf are declared in stdio.h, which is called an header file. इसकी declaration इस header file में मौजूद है, लेकिन इसकी definition जो है वो कुछ library functions हैं उसमें provide की गई है. This header file will include with the help of a preprocessor directives, which is called include directive. So printf is a function. We said main is a function. तो main की तरह का ये भी एक printf function है. वो main हम खुद develop करेंगे. ये printf system ने already define करके एक library के through हमें provide कर दिया है, जो कि compiler इस library को लिंक करता है और जो हमारा executable होता है उसमें printf की definition already मौजूद है. So it calls the string written within a quotes inside printf function to be printed on the screen. So it calls the function printed on the screen. Should write here. I missed out printed. It's difficult to write down with the help of a mouse, you know. So it prints the string onto the string. The string which is the phrase in quotes, याद है हमने फर्स्ट प्रोग्राम में यूज किया था hello world. Hello world is a string. We can print it with the help of printf function. As I said, printf और scanf दोनों functions की definitions जो है is provided in a library which is any name. You need not to worry at this stage. So the linker just simply links this library at the time it creates an executable. So एक object library है जिसमें हम बहुत सारे ऑब्जेक्ट कोड अपने कंबाइन करके लिंकर के थ्रू एक एग्जीक्यूटेबल बना सकते हैं. सिमिलरली वी कैन लिंक अप द सिस्टम प्रोवाइडेड ऑब्जेक्ट्स, वी लिंक देम एट द टाइम ऑफ लिंकिंग ओवर ऑब्जेक्ट कोड. बेसिकली ये भी एक रीज़न है वी कॉल इट एज अ लिंकिंग, क्योंकि लिंक खाली मैपिंग ही नहीं करता, एड्रेस रेजोल्यूशन ही नहीं करता, बल्कि ये बाकी ऑब्जेक्ट कोड्स को आपस में लिंक करके एक एग्जीक्यूटेबल बनाता है. यू कैन नेम एनी फंक्शन जस्ट लाइक अ वेरिएबल नेम. रिमेंबर जब हमने लास्ट टाइम आइडेंटिफायर्स पढ़े थे तो मैंने आपको कहा था कि फंक्शन का जो नाम है वो भी आइडेंटिफायर कहलाता है. सो इट हैज ऑल दी same characteristics that we have discussed while defining any identifier. So whenever you are going to write any function name, then you cannot use the name that has already been defined and available as a keyword or a reserved word. So scanf or printf functions वो वेरिएबल नेम्स हैं, वो आइडेंटिफायर्स हैं जिनके थ्रू ये फंक्शंस के नाम डिफाइन किए गए हैं. लिहाजा इसको आप अपने प्रोग्राम में रीडिफाइन नहीं कर सकते. लिहाजा ऐसा कोई फंक्शन जो आपने डिफाइन करना है उसका आप नाम printf या scanf नहीं रख सकते. ओके, लेट्स गो इनसाइड द printf function. We can print numbers using printf functions. We can print anything using printf functions. In this example, we say that printf printing number %d quotes closed comma 10. Last program hello world में we have used one argument. एक string use किया था हमने सिर्फ hello world का to display it onto the screen. यहाँ पर हमने दो arguments यूज किए हैं और इन दोनों arguments को separate किया है with the help of a comma. This is the first argument and this is the second argument. Argument 1 is a string, whereas the argument 2 is a numeric value. What is this %d? Something very important. Argument 1 में we have used a special character %d, two characters rather, one is %, one is d. It has got a predefined meaning. What is that? It is called a format specifier. Let us see what is a format specifier. The format specifier tells the compiler where to put the value in the string and what format for printing that value. Let's go back. This format specifier tells the compiler where to put this value 10 and what should be its type. %d जिस जगह पे लिखा गया है उस जगह पर तो वो वैल्यू राइट करेगा, लेकिन %d का अपना एक मतलब है. %d tells the compiler to print 10 as a decimal integer. So d stands for a format specifier of decimal integer. Let's go back again. Printing number %d tells the compiler to print printing number colon, then place the decimal 10 here. So the compiler is educated that the second argument should be printed as a integer, because we have used an integer format specifier. We can use 10 directly. हम ये भी कर सकते थे कि यहाँ पर हम डायरेक्ट लिख सकते थे 10. Print number colon 10. Yes, we can do that. So what's the fun? What we have achieved? We have given the capability to a printf function to print any number, whatever is passed on as an argument. हम 10 की जगह एक वेरिएबल नेम भेज सकते थे. इसने उस वेरिएबल नेम को इंटीजर डेटा टाइप को उस लोकेशन की जगह पर यूज करके प्रिंट आउट आपको दे देना था. सो ये बात आपको थोड़ी देर में और अच्छे तरीके से समझ आएगी व्हेन आई विल एक्सप्लेन यू सम मोर एग्जांपल्स. बिफोर पिकिंग अप सम मोर एग्जांपल्स, let us discuss the different format specifiers. Data types हमने पढ़े थे, कितने थे? 5 data types. कौन कौन से? Integer, yes, float, double, character, void. अगर ये 5 data types थे तो format specifier भी 4 या 5 होने चाहिए. But we have got some more format specifiers. I go through it very quickly and explain it to you. %c is used for single character. Simple. This is a data type. %s is used as a string. String एक separate data type नहीं है, मैं आपको पहले भी बता चुका हूँ. We will use a special form of char character data type to represent these strings. लेकिन उसका format specifier is separate. So %c is used to represent a single character, whereas %s is used to represent a string. %d, signed decimal integer. By default, the integers are considered as signed integers. इसका मतलब है कोई unsigned भी होगा. Yes, we have got a format specifier %u, which we use it as an unsigned format specifier. So unsigned integers के लिए अगर आप समझते हैं कि आप नेगेटिव नंबर यूज नहीं करना चाहते, so you can use, instead of %d, you can use %u. Next, %f. डेटा टाइप कौन सा है? Float. Float के लिए we have got more data types. %f, %g. तो डबल के लिए तो कोई ना हुआ. Yes. This %f, %e and %g are used to represent, to display float as well as double data types. %f यूज करते हैं float के लिए, डबल के लिए भी यूज कर सकते हैं आप. %e for exponential notations. For example, 12e12, 12 into 10 raised to the power 12. This is called e notation. %g. %g is an intelligent format specifiers that takes the decision, the shorter form of %f and %e, whichever is shorter. So if you want to take the decision that a floating point data, whichever is printed in a shorter form, it automatically picks up either %f or %e. %u I have already explained that we use it for an unsigned integer. %x for hexadecimal numbers, %o for octal numbers, and then we can use a modifier with this format specifier. हम L use कर सकते हैं, which becomes as a prefix of the format specifier. For example, with %d, %u, x and o, इसके साथ किसी के साथ भी we can use L. For example, we can say %ld to display the long integers. मैंने आपको बताया था long is a modifier जो कि हम इंटीजर के साथ यूज कर सकते हैं. long int, number, count, long int count. So if you are using a long integer, then instead of using %d, you should use %ld. So these are the different format specifiers that we will use in the printf function. आपको याद होगा कि हमने फर्स्ट प्रोग्राम में सिर्फ %d यूज किया था. Now I am teaching you all the possible format specifiers, and all these format specifiers we will use it in the printf function. Field width specifier. We can not only use the format specifier, but we can also control the width of the data, width of a number that you are going to print it on a screen. The generalized format is % minus or without minus w.nf. You might not find this w.nf. I have just used it to explain it. %f बड़ा आसान है. इस ऊपर वाली फॉर्मेट में अगर मैं सिर्फ इसको यूज करूं % और f, ये तो जस्ट लाइक %d की तरह you can use it. What does .n means? ये .n क्या है? .n means a number of digits after decimal point. The system by default prints many decimal points. For example, if you want to print 0.25, the system will print 0.250000. How many zeros? Depending upon single precision or a double precision you are using. कौन सा डेटा टाइप आप यूज कर रहे हैं, फ्लोट यूज कर रहे हैं या डबल यूज कर रहे हैं. सो उसी हिसाब से ये डेसिमल पॉइंट के बाद नंबर ऑफ डिजिट्स जो हैं वो यूज करता है सिस्टम ऑटोमेटिकली. बट इफ यू से कि आफ्टर डेसिमल प्लेसेस आई जस्ट नीड 2 decimals, 2 digits, so you can say that you can use %.2f. It will print 27.25000 as 27.25 only. Only 2 decimal places. But if you use %.3f, it will print 3 digits after decimal place. इसी तरह we can have the width of the integer numbers. We can use %2d to define the number of digits. If you want to print 33 with 2d, so no extra space will be printed here. But if you print 33 with format specifier %4d, 2 spaces and then 33. So if you say 6d, then 4 blank spaces. ये dash dash नजर नहीं आएगा आपको. It is, I've just used it to show you कि it is equal to 2 decimal places. So आपको आउटपुट के ऊपर 33, 33, 33 इस तरीके से डायगोनल फॉर्म में नजर आएगा, क्योंकि स्पेसेस जो हैं वो उसके लेफ्ट साइड पर होंगी. So what could be its use? If I use print 8.1f, 8.1f, 8.1f with 3.0, 12.5, 5 to 3.3. Do you remember? पहला 8 किस चीज के लिए है? ये एक्सप्लेन करता है width, how many characters. So you have defined कि there should be a width of 8 characters in which you want to print your data. इसका मतलब ये हुआ कि यहाँ से लेकर यहाँ तक 8 characters की स्पेस अवेलेबल होगी. It will be like this. यहाँ पे एक करेक्टर ज़्यादा हो गया, सेकंड के केस में स्पेस कम हो गई. यहाँ पे करेक्टर ज़्यादा हो गए तो स्पेस और कम हो गई. I repeat this printf with next statement with the same format, but this time I have used 300.0, 1200.5, 5300.5. So the next statement will be printed like this. Here 8 will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. There should be 3 spaces. Here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. 3 spaces. Okay. अब एक चीज रह गई minus. If I use minus, the same output will be like this. What's the difference? Look like the same. But there is a difference. What's that? Here, it is right justified. By default, if you don't use a minus, it is right justified here. Decimal point के साथ right side पे aligned है. Decimal point के साथ right side पे aligned है. Decimal point के साथ right side पे aligned है. And here, if you use minus, then it is aligned here, not here. Decimal के साथ नहीं है, बल्कि it is aligned with the first digit. It is aligned with the first digit. So, field width specifier say you can have left alignment or the right side alignment. By default it is right side, right align, and if you use minus it is left align. You can define the width, how many spaces or how many bins you have reserved you want to use to output the data onto the screen is with the help of width specifier here 8. Then the decimal point that indicates that how many digits you want to print after decimal. Okay, so you need to do some practice in order to have a better control of your output. अगर आप स्क्रीन के ऊपर अपनी आउटपुट को कंट्रोल करना चाहते हैं, if you want to for example print a table तो अलाइन ही अच्छा लगता है. So you can take up an simple exercise and try to print table of 16 which should be aligned. Either you should align it with reference to the values or with reference to the operators. I'll show you later on in the demonstration session that how can you do that, but it's a good time that you attempt this exercise using simple printf function, or maybe few more statements that I will teach you in this particular lecture. Escape sequence. There are some special characters that have got special meaning. जैसे %d का एक predefined meaning है कि you want to use it as a format specifier of decimal integer. Similarly, you have got some escape sequence. \n is used as a new line. New line बनती है 2 special characters से. One is called carriage return, that takes the cursor to the start of the line, and then line feed that takes the cursor start of the next line. आप कैरेज रिटर्न और लाइन फीड को किसी भी ऑर्डर में यूज कर सकते हैं. अगर आप पहले लाइन फीड करेंगे तो कर्सर पहले नेक्स्ट लाइन पे चला जाएगा, और फिर कैरेज रिटर्न करेंगे तो कर्सर विल कम बैक टू द फर्स्ट पोजीशन ऑफ द नेक्स्ट लाइन. और अगर आप रिवर्स करेंगे, पहले कैरेज रिटर्न यूज करेंगे तो कर्सर जो है पहले स्टार्ट के ऊपर आ जाएगा और न्यू लाइन से द कर्सर विल कम टू द नेक्स्ट लाइन. So \n basically is a combination of carriage return and line feed. \tab is for tab. You can define a tab of 8 characters. It is equivalent कि आप 8 spaces use करें अपने string के अंदर, या आप string के अंदर \t use करेंगे तो it will give you 8 spaces in the output. \r कैरेज रिटर्न है, यू कैन यूज दैट. फ्यूचर में इसका भी हम इस्तेमाल करेंगे. सिंगल कोट एंड डबल कोट हैज गॉट स्पेशल मीनिंग्स इन printf. यू यूज इट टू स्पेसिफाई और टू पास ऑन द लिटरल. याद है जब मैंने आपको लिटरल्स की एग्जांपल्स बताई थी तो हमने यूज किया था सिंगल कोट, s सिंगल कोट, टू इंडिकेट a character literal, a character constant. printf or scanf may be, it is represented as to represent as a character or as a string. But suppose you want to display a single quote or a double quote. For that purpose you will use \single quote or \double quote. This \single quote or \double quote, or even you want to print a backslash, so you will use a backslash here. Basically it tells the compiler to treat the next character as an ordinary character, to treat the next character as an ordinary character. This backslash tells the compiler to treat the quote as an ordinary character, not to use it as a predefined definition provided. Similarly, don't use the predefined definitions of the code. Treat this code as an ordinary character. Who tells that? This backslash. So backslash tells the system use the next character as an ordinary character. Backslash means treat the next character as an ordinary character, not as an escape sequence. So it's not a double escape sequence. So if you want to print a backslash on the output, you can use it. This one, the first one tells the compiler to treat the next backslash as an ordinary character. Good. So there are a few more escape sequences, but I think we will use it first and then we'll try to learn few more. Okay, let us do some practice with couple of examples. Printf function. Printf %s is %d years old. It has got 3 arguments. One is the string, first argument, second argument, third argument. In the first argument we say that we will provide you the data for string and we will provide you the data for the %d format specifier. So this %s is associated with Ahmed, and which is a string, and this %d is associated with 22, which is a numeric value. So the output would be what? You can guess it. Ahmed is 22-year-old. It will be the output of this program. And this program has got obviously just one single statement. Another example. Again, one single statement. %C is pronounced as %S. Here, we pass on this single character to this format specifier. So it will say that J is pronounced as J. This string is associated with this one because you have to maintain the order also, since you have used the format specifier of character first, so you need to put the character first. Then you said %S, the second format specifier you have provided second, so your second argument should be in the list at the second position. Remember, single quotes are for the character, जो मैंने अभी आपको बताया था पिछली एग्जाम्पल में, and double quote we use it for the string. Single quotes are for the character, whereas %C is a format specifier of character. Double quote is for format specifier for string associated with %S. %S is the format specifier for string, and the string is enclosed in double quotes. Okay. So I leave it to you for have lots of exercises of the previous lecture with the help of printf function. Whatever you have learned in the previous lecture and in this lecture, please exercise it with the help of printf function. Your book, textbook, both the textbook as well as the reference book also got a lot of solved examples that you can use it as a practice. As a practice to learn the features of printf function. Be careful in using the format specifiers and field width specifiers. I expect you to gain a control over field width specifiers also. Okay, let's continue with the next lecture, next topic, which is scanf function. मैंने आपको बताया था कि scanf function is used to read the data from the keyboard. So in this example, I'll just first give you an example, then I explain it to you. Int user age. First, printf, enter the age. It is just a string, just a hello world आपने लिखा था or it was displayed onto the screen. इसी तरह it will display enter the age. Now, you have intelligently used this string to tell the user to enter the data onto the screen with the help of your keyboard. जब स्क्रीन के ऊपर लिखा हुआ आएगा enter the age, the cursor will blink after that, means cursor is waiting to execute this instruction, which is your scanf instruction. Here it has got %D, which is a format specifier, which is the same as we have discussed and learned in the printf function, and the next argument is the variable name. The variable name where you want to put the input data. So you have defined a variable called user age. This is a variable name you must have defined as an integer because you are going to read an integer data because you are reading it with the help of integer format specifier. So you must have defined integer user age. I have already defined integer user age, but here I am also using this ampersand sign. It has got a special meaning. So first you need to define the variable. First argument is the format specifier that you provide into the double quotes string. Then you provide the series of placeholders. Placeholders are basically the variables, a place to hold the data. So the remaining arguments are the placeholders, variable names, proceeded with the ampersand sign, which is called as an address operator. This address operator basically identifies the address of the variable where you are going to put the data. आपने वेरिएबल का नाम तो बता दिया, लेकिन scanf फंक्शन को you are supposed to provide the address also. So you can simply use these address operators in the scanf function before the variable names that will provide the address of the variable to the scanf function, and then the scanf function should be able to read the data into the variables. So let's scrutinize this statement: scanf %d, %d, %f, %c. We have defined here integer a, b, दो integers define किए, float c, character d. We know कि integer a और b के लिए we need an integer format specifier. Float के लिए we need a float format specifier. Character के लिए we need a character format specifier. अब जिस फॉर्म में, जिस सीक्वेंस में आपने यहाँ पर दिए हैं, you have specified that the first of the two variables are the integer, third one is float, next one is character. So now you have to put it like that. First is a, which is an integer. Second one is b, which is an integer. Third one is c, which is a character, which is a float. And fourth one is d, which is a character. और आपने उनके एड्रेस ऑपरेटर्स भी दे दिए. Now the system should be able to read the value, whatever the value you type in on the keyboard. अब सिस्टम को कैसे पता चलेगा कि A कहाँ पे ख़त्म हुआ और B कहाँ से शुरू हुआ और B कहाँ पे ख़त्म हुआ और C कहाँ पे शुरू हुआ? So that is done with the help of a white space. पता है ना आपको, white space is for, क्या होता है? White space is a space or carry return, yes, or a tab, और कैरी रिटर्न आप न्यू लाइन भी यूज कर सकते हैं. जब आप अपने कीबोर्ड पे एंटर प्रेस करते हैं तो इट इज बेसिकली ए न्यू लाइन, क्योंकि एंटर आपने देखा कि आपके कर्सर को स्टार्ट ऑफ द नेक्स्ट लाइन के ऊपर ले जाता है. व्हेन यू आर वर्किंग इन एनी वर्ड प्रोसेसर और माइक्रोसॉफ्ट वर्ड में काम कर रहे हो या किसी में काम कर रहे हो, तो एंटर प्रेस करने से, या पावर पॉइंट में काम कर रहे हैं तो एंटर प्रेस करने से कर्सर नेक्स्ट लाइन पे चला जाता है. सो बेसिकली आपका जो एंटर कैरेक्टर है कीबोर्ड के ऊपर, it outputs two characters, वो जो मैंने भी आपको एक्सप्लेन किया, कैरी रिटर्न और लाइन फीड. सो आप A के बाद एंटर प्रेस करवें, सेकंड डेटा आ जाएगा, B रीड करेगा, फिर एंटर प्रेस करें C, फिर एंटर प्रेस करें D, या आप A का डेटा एंटर करने के बाद स्पेस बार दबाएं एंड एंटर B वैल्यू, स्पेस बार दबाएं, एंटर C वैल्यू, स्पेस बार दबाएं, एंटर D वैल्यू, या A के बाद टैब दबाएं, फिर टैब दबाएं, फिर टैब दबाएं. सो यू कैन डिस्टिंग्विश द इनपुट बाय यूजिंग द वाइट स्पेस. फॉर्मेट स्पेसिफायर्स जितने भी मैंने आपको पढ़ाए हैं, वट एवर वी हैव स्टडीड इन printf, you can use the same format specifier in scanf also. Good. Then the comments. In order to document your source code, you should have a habit of writing the comments. If you are writing a description of 2 or 3 or 4, 5 lines descriptions, more than one line description, then you should use /* and then you can start typing maybe multiple lines or maybe within one line also. Then you can end with reverse sequence */. Whatever is enclosed in between is treated as a comment, and preprocessor directives and the preprocessor tells the compiler to remove all these, क्योंकि मैंने आपको बताया था कि प्री प्रोसेसर जो है जो कुछ भी एडिटिंग करता है उसको डिस्क पे सेव नहीं करता. So this data will not pass on to the compiler, but whenever you will open up your source code, you should be able to see whatever comments you have written with the source code. You have to be very careful. If you forgot, अगर आप भूल जाते हैं इसको एंड करना, तो इसके बाद का जितना भी प्रोग्राम होगा वो सारे का सारा कमेंट बन जाएगा. ओके, बी केयरफुल, कमेंट को एंड करना मत भूलिएगा. यू कैन ऑल्सो यूज कमेंट बाय पुटिंग 2 forward slashes only, but this is for the comment which should end within that particular line. So students, this is a very good practice to use the comments for your programs, especially whenever you are writing a complex program, then you must use the comments also. Next topic is loops. Computer has an ability to carry out or execute the instruction very fast, so it can execute the instruction repeatedly. बार बार आप instructions को execute कर सकते हैं. For that purpose you can use the loops. So it involves repeating some portion of the program either specified number of times or until particular condition is being satisfied. Different categories हैं basically, ये loop की categories हैं, and आपकी समझ में आएगा when I will show you the next slide. 3 types of loop statements are there in C or C++: for loop, while loop, do while loop. For loop is the most popular statement used to repeat the data. And in my remaining lecture today, I will be focusing only on the for loop. So I'll be only talking about the for loop today. While loop and do while loop, I will discuss it in the next lecture. So without wasting time, let us start for loop further. For loop में को 3 चीजें बतानी होती हैं. Basically, when you use a for statement या for loop statement, you are supposed to provide 3 types of information to the system. कौन सी? Number 1, setting a loop counter to an initial value. How many times you want to repeat the instructions which are provided in the body of the for loop. अब ये for loop के structure की भी बात करूंगा. You can put certain instruction within the for loop and then you can specify how many times these instructions should be executed. So this is the first information that you provide in the statement of the for loop. Next, testing the loop counter to determine whether the value has been reached where you are supposed to terminate the repetition of these instructions, execution of these instructions. So you need to test the value of the loop counter. ये जो पहला काउंटर हम यूज करते हैं जिसको हम सेटिंग अप द लूप काउंटर है, इसको हम लूप काउंटर कहते हैं. So you need to test the loop counter whether it has reached to a value where it should stop or not. Third, you need to increment or decrement the loop counter. तभी तो वो किसी particular destination तक पहुंचेगा ना. For example, 1 to 100. You start with 0 या start with 1. Then keep on incrementing it. 1, then 2, then 3, then 4 until it reaches to 100. Or you may want to start from 100 and count down up to 1 or 0. So third item is the increment or decrement counter. Okay, the flow chart. You must have liked it because it's a pictorial view, graphical view to explain. So the for loop, we start the for loop, we initialize loop counter, then we test the loop counter. If the loop counter is true, you just keep on executing the instructions which are in the body of the loop. Then you increment the counter. After incrementing the counter, you again test. So you start from 1, test, it is 1, execute all the instructions which are provided in the for loop, which is called body of the loop. Increment from 1 to 2, then 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5 until it reaches to your desired level, say 100, for example, if you have mentioned the loop counter up to 100. So if incrementing loop counter takes the value of the loop counter to greater than 100, so you will not execute, the system will not execute the body of the loop because the test will fail and you will stop. Quickly initialize, test, execute instruction, increment the counter until it reaches to the desired value and then you stop. This is the explanation of the for loop with the help of a flowchart. So you must be in a hurry, just excited, writing down the for loop statement. So this is the for loop statement. For, keyword, reserve word that you can use here, for, then the initialization counter, test counter, increment or decrement counter. वो जो 3 चीजें मैंने आपको बताई थी, initialize, test, increment or decrement. Then there is a start of for loop, end of for loop. पहले statement है, whatever is inside these braces, this is called the body of the for loop. It is enclosed in curly brackets or braces. Just a main program हमने start किया था with curly bracket और end किया था with the curly bracket, closing the curly bracket. इसी तरह for loop की जो body है, if it has got more statement, more than one statement, then you need to put them together into the curly bracket. उसकी आपको एक body बनानी है, and that body, that part of this body of the for loop should be enclosed into this curly brackets. So let's put some meaningful data into this flow chart. You want to initialize the value. Suppose we want to print integer numbers from -4 to 0. -4, -3, 2, 1 and 0. You want to print 0 also. Be careful. So we initialize a value j. Suppose j is our variable. We say j is equal to -4. So we have done the first part. We have initialized the value j is equal to -4. Then we say that if j is less than equal to 0, क्योंकि आप चाहते हैं 0 भी print हो, so we said if j is less than equal to 0, if yes, print the value of j, then you increment the loop counter, j is equal to j plus 1, go up, increment, go up, increment, go up. Once the value of j increased from 0, it becomes 1, so it is not less than equal to 0. So answer is no, you will stop here. This is the program that I have just explained it in the form of flow chart. You can write this program. Integer j, you have declared the variable j here, okay? You have just declared it, and here you have defined it. कैसे डिफाइन हुआ, इसमें और इसमें फर्क क्या है? इधर सिर्फ हमने we have just explained the system that the integer variable is required, its name is j. Data type बताया, variable का नाम बताया, but not assigned any value. इनिशियलाइज नहीं किया हमने उसे। जब हम इसमें फर्स्ट टाइम डेटा डालते हैं तो दिस डिक्लेरेशन बिकम्स द डेफिनेशन। सो फॉर j is equal to -4 until j is less than equal to 0, j is equal to j plus 1. Dear students, be careful. Initialization, test and increment, all three are separated with the help of semicolon. फर्स्ट और सेकंड के दरमियान सेमीकोलन है, सेकंड और थर्ड के दरमियान सेमीकोलन। दिस इज द मैंडेटरी पार्ट ऑफ द फॉर लूप। फ्यूचर में मैं आपको ऐसी फॉर लूप बताऊंगा डेट विल नॉट कंटेन एनीथिंग, जस्ट स्टार्ट ऑफ ब्रैकेट, सेमीकोलन, सेमीकोलन, क्लोज ऑफ ब्रैकेट, बट यू कैन नॉट स्किप एनी सेमीकोलन फ्रॉम द फॉर लूप स्टेटमेंट। नेक्स्ट इज द बॉडी ऑफ लूप। Printf, you will print the value of j. So it will print, first it will print -4, then it will print 1, then 2, -4, -3, -2, 1, 0, that will be the output. For loop की curly brackets कहाँ गई यहाँ से? Not required. If we are using just one single statement, then we are not required to enclose the single statement in the curly brackets. We can simply, very simply, we can just put a single statement. और अगर ये आप सेमीकोलन डाल देंगे तो it will still serve a purpose as a dummy for loop, doing nothing, क्योंकि सेमीकोलन, if it is not proceeded with any statement, बाज़ औक़ात स्टूडेंट मिस्टेक करते हैं, यहाँ पर सेमीकोलन डाल देते हैं, उससे क्या होता है, फॉर लूप की ये बॉडी बन जाती है विच इज नल बॉडी, डू नथिंग। यू हैव रिटन फॉर स्टेटमेंट बट आफ्टर पुटिंग इट हियर इट बिकम्स द बॉडी बिकॉज देयर इज नो स्टेटमेंट बिहाइंड दिस, सो इट इज ट्रीटेड। आप देखें फॉर लूप के स्ट्रक्चर में this semicolon is not there, it is with the statement, or it should have a curly brackets if you have got more statements. So I show you another example. Print a number from 1 to 10, वही program है, you should be able to understand that. Here instead of, this is the same, almost the same, so it will print the values from 1 to 10. I think you should be able to understand this example. Let's move forward. 1 to 10, okay, this is the difference. In the previous example, the increment was done within the body of the for loop statement. But in this example, we have taken it out, not placed it here and placed it here. Okay? So, as far as this increment part is there, it's okay. So, you are not bound to put the increment part into the third section of your format statement. So, increment is done within the body of the for loop and not in the for statement. Note that even if we are not using this increment part here in the format statement, but yet we have placed this semicolon here. It is important. Next, we have taken initialization part this time outside this for loop. No initialization part in the body of, in the statement of the for loop. It is outside, yet we are putting a semicolon here, then the test, then the increment, and then this is the statement. Students, please note that there is no semicolon here. Format statement is not completed yet until you provide some statement. So this statement is the body of the for loop which is terminated by the semicolon. Okay? Next, neither initialization nor increment is the part of the for loop. Initialization is done before, increment is done within the body of this for loop. Yet this for loop will work, but important point is two semicolons are still there. Okay, one is for terminating the initialization, second one for terminating the test, so that 3 arguments, 1, 2, 3 arguments are there. Again, no semicolon here. So neither the initialization nor increment is done in the for statement, but still two semicolons are used. Increment, now I have used the operator I++. Auto increment means you start with the value 0, use the value 0, and then increment that. Okay, so it will increment, first use the value 0, 0 is less than 10, it will print the value 0, and then it will keep on printing the values until the value of 9. So it will print 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then it will stop, because when it is at the level of 10, it will not execute the body of the loop. Same, this time it will increment first and then use. First increment and then test. So what should be the output? Think about it. The first value of I that should be printed is 0? No. क्यों? क्योंकि 0 जो है that will be incremented to 1. जब हम प्लस प्लस I करेंगे तो 0 1 हो जाएगा. Then it will perform the test, less than equal to 10. So first time it will print 1. So here it will print 0 to 9 नहीं, बल्कि it will print 1 to 10. Why 10? Because we have used here less than equal to 10, जबकि यहाँ पे हमने less than 10 कहा था. It will execute 10 times. This will also execute 10 times, because we have compensated, because the variable will change. Variable will range from 1 to 10, and here the variable will range from 0 to 9. These are very, very important concepts. So I will advise you to use printf statement with this particular concepts of for loop as I have used it in this example, and try to understand by using different combinations of test, different combinations of increment, different combination of initialization. If you say I is equal to I plus 1 की जगह if you say I is equal to I plus 2, तो फिर ये क्या प्रिंट करेगा? 0, or maybe in this particular program not 0. हम suppose कहते हैं यहाँ पर I is equal to I plus 2. I is equal to I plus 2. So the first one will be 2. So first it will print 0, then 2, then 4, then 6, then 8, then 10. And the loop will not execute 10 times. Loop will execute 5 times. क्योंकि 5 times के बाद it will exceed the value of 10. The same loop will execute 5 times, क्योंकि अब आपका increment 1 नहीं बल्कि increment is 2, not 1. Nesting loops. You can use loop within a loop. Use this slide, use this example with different combinations. With this combination, it will print this output. It will take the value of R1 outer loop से, then it will go to the inner loop here. So inner loop के लिए this body of the loop will be finished first with one value of the outer loop. Outer loop से R का 1 होगा, inner loop में it will execute 2 times. So you will have the output here. This printf function will say R is equal to 1, C is equal to 1, sum is equal to 2. Then C की another value, because here this loop will execute 2 times. R will remain same because you have not gone up. So R is 1, value of C is 2, sum is 3. Then it go back up again. The value of R is now 2. It come up here, value of R is equal to 2, but once again it will initialize C is equal to 1. So R is equal to 2, C is equal to 1, sum is 3. R remains 2, C will 2, 4. Third time, come up with value of R is equal to 3. C is again 1 and 2. So the sum is 4 and 5. So with the help of these combinations of different values of arguments, different values of the loop counters, loop variables, try to understand the concept of the for loop. And you can only understand with the help of some practice in the environment of C++. इन्हीं प्रोग्राम्स की स्टेटमेंट्स को टाइप करें, कंपाइल करें, लिंक करें. You are not required to compile and link directly. You can use build and execute that. Then change the values of these variables and try to understand it. Please रट्टा लगाने की कोशिश ना कीजिएगा, समझने की कोशिश करें इसे. Once you understand the concept, once you understand the logic, then you will never forget it in the future. लेकिन अगर आप रट्टा लगाएंगे तो I assure you कि फिर आप भूल जाएंगे. Finally, you can have a multiple initialization statements within the for loop. याद है इससे पहले हमने सिर्फ एक वेरिएबल को यूज किया था, j is equal to 1, j is less than 10, increment jj. But here we have used multiple initializations statements. We can put it into the for loop. So the initialization expression of the loop can contain more than one statement separated by comma. अब इसको आपने इससे नहीं सेपरेट करना सेमीकोलन से, इसको आपने कॉमा से सेपरेट करना है, क्योंकि दिस इज द पार्ट नंबर 1. पार्ट नंबर 1 is called initialization part. Part 2 is called test part. Part 3 is called increment part. Multiple statement can also be used in incrementing here, लेकिन टेस्ट एक ही होगा. ठीक है, only one expression is allowed, but you can have a multiple initialization and multiple increment decrement statements. Now students have provided the solution of the quiz given in the last lecture. आप वही क्वेश्चन को पिकअप करें using the printf statement. Place the value जो मैंने आपसे क्विज में पूछी थी and find out the result. Okay, similarly question number 2, use this expression. आपको पता है कि इसका आंसर जो है वो इंटीजर में आएगा, so use integer format specifier. Put this expression here, initialize it here. A is equal to 2, B is equal to 4, C is equal to 6. So this is an initialization statement that covers all the 3 concepts. कौन से? Declare, define, initialize. So तीनों steps आपने एक statement में किए. Use the printf statement, use the expression, and then इसका order change कीजिए. यहाँ पर मल्टीप्लिकेशन की जगह प्लस कर दें, इसकी जगह डिवाइड कर दें, मुख्तलिफ कम्बिनेशंस के साथ ट्राई टू फाइंड आउट कि व्हाट इज द आउटपुट. दैट्स द वे यू विल प्रैक्टिस. दैट्स द वे यू विल प्रैक्टिस द प्रेसिडेंस. दैट्स द वे यू विल प्रैक्टिस द यूज ऑफ द ऑपरेटर्स. ओके, सो टुडे आई हैव गिवन you lot of stuff to practice in the Visual C environment. This is the most important lecture, क्योंकि आज के बाद whatever I'm going to teach you, you will be testing it out. देखिए मैंने सही पढ़ाया ही नहीं पढ़ाया है. जैसे मैंने आपको बताया है कि इसको ऐसे चलना चाहिए, क्या वो रिजल्ट वैसे आ रहा है, नहीं आ रहा. ओके, डोंट बिलीव कि जो सर ने कह दिया वो ठीक है. नो, उसको वेट करें, टेस्ट करें. इन दिस वे you will have an habit of going through inside what is being taught to you and try to understand the concepts. I assure you, मैं जितना भी पढ़ाऊं, I will not be able to teach you the programming. You will learn the programming by yourself. Whatever I will teach, you will practice using the environment. That's why in the last lecture, last to last lecture, I demonstrated you how can you set up an environment for your practice. Practice, practice and practice will lead you to an expert programmer. इसमें स्किल भी आ जाएगी, इसमें आर्ट भी आ जाएगा, इसमें साइंस भी आ जाएगी, इसमें इंजीनियरिंग भी आ जाएगी. लेकिन इन सब के लिए आपको मेहनत करनी होगी. थैंक यू वेरी मच. अगले लेक्चर तक खुदा हाफिज.